Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am so glad you are here. I am back from vacation and I'm really excited to dive back into these conversations here. If you are here for the first time, you don't know what's going on, Mental Health Monday is a time where we get together and we talk about all things mental health. So if you will have any questions related to mental health, especially related to religion or God and mental health, feel free to pop those into the chat. I'm going to open up a question queue. Whether you are here on Twitch or YouTube, just pop your question into the chat and we'll make sure to get it addressed while we're here. But I am joined today by Richard Tierney, who teaches people how to heal from mental health struggles by going beyond the diagnosis and addressing what Richard calls the cause, the original trauma, often held by a younger version of ourselves. Richard believes healing requires more than symptom management. Instead, the approach centers around a spiritual solution rooted in Christ, including a 12-step program modeled after AA with permission focused on trauma recovery. Richard's work challenges the idea that medication or talk therapy alone is enough, and instead, Richard guides people through a healing process that begins with releasing the weight of past trauma in a safe, non-intrusive way and continues with a step-by-step spiritual journey. Now, one quick note is that Richard does not use pronouns, so throughout this conversation, I'll be honoring that choice. And as always, I'll be coming to this discussion with curiosity and respect. And I ask that you guys do the same, especially as we talk about things like faith and mental health and trauma and how those pieces fit or sometimes don't fit into people's healing journeys. And if y'all are interested in connecting with Richard, I have several links for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and post those so that you can click through and find a way to connect over here on Facebook, LinkedIn, or even go buy a couple of books that Richard has written. So Richard, thank you so much for joining here today. And I'm really excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be great.
Thank you very much for having me, MommaFoxFire. I have to get used to these tags. Really great to be here. I love your presentation. Really very kind words that you shared. I really appreciate it. I love your background. I'm looking at your paintings. I know your audience can't see it, but I'm loving all the colors. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can absolutely see it. This is live. This is video. This is on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, so they get to see everything that you can see, fortunately. Before we dive in, we do already have a question in the question queue. Bite Mark would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
Oh, wow. I'm glad you warned me about this. I've only ever had one favorite poem, and that was the I wandered lonely as a cloud. I learned it in school when I was in junior school. It was the prayer the poem we were taught that most of our exams were on this one prayer. And as I go through life with mental illness and mental health, I think this really sums up where we can be. At sometimes we feel completely distant from the world, looking out beyond and using our imagination to escape reality. And that idea of wandering lonely as a cloud in the sky, or as a daffodil, being a sole daffodil, then join the whole flock and the whole harvest of daffodils. I think all that sums up for me. I don't know how that one poem stayed with me from childhood to resonate so deeply with me in the present.
It's neat, though, how things can come with, just something from a childhood memory and stick with you for so long. And you're going, as an adult now, I remember that one poem. It's really cool just to kind of go through that.
It's from school. We kind of think things about school, we think they're not important. And like that's in my schooling, and I want to get away from my school as far as possible. And suddenly I find a poem that I learned in school that, again, I didn't choose to learn it. We were browbeaten into learn this off by heart for exams, whatever. And I always thought it was part of the curriculum and something that you'd put in the past and leave it go. But today it's so pertinent in my life. There's times when my nature is to be a victim. And I can go to depression and despair in a split second. It doesn't take very long to go to depression or despair. I can go there so fast. Like, it's just people who know this understand this. It can take me hours to be happy, joyous, and free, but I can go to depression and despair in a split second. Mm-hmm. That's just the nature of the dis-ease that we have within ourselves. And that idea of being as lonely as a cloud or a single daffodil, it just comes into my life so much. I'm kind of going, did God plan for me to learn that poem when I was like 12 years of age, that at the age of 64, it would make such a huge impact upon my life? Again, these are things that just blow me away. These things can have these full circle and come back into my life.
Yeah. I just finished reading a book. It's a fiction book, but it's called The Lost Bookshop. And it talks about something that was lost in someone's childhood and then they kept remembering it. And it was like they could remember this one thing word for word, crystal clear in their life and all the impacts that it had. And it's kind of interwoven in this greater story, but it's just really neat. It's just a really cool thing. Bite Mark says it's not the first time I've come with a warning, and it won't be the last. That is true. that is very true. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you already asking a question. I encourage everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in, and we'll talk about them. But Richard, I would love to know, can you share a little bit about your background and what led you to what you do now?
Okay. I'm conscious of triggering people, and I'm no desire to trigger anybody. So we've all had our trauma. I'd like to say that I believe every one of us on this earth at birth experienced a trauma event that isn't recognized by the powers that be. So I like to think that God created us in his image and he gave us fight, flight, and freeze as our responses to danger. And we got those in the womb. So when you're in the room and you're about to come into life, we because we're coming out of the safe place into the unknown, that's our first event of practicing fight, flight, or freeze. So a child comes
Mm,
out of the womb and it's in a state of freeze. So it comes out and it's comatose. The midwife holds it up by the ankle, slaps in the bum for reaction. And in that moment, that child, it gets the message. It can never trust freeze again. That the first time it tried to freeze, it was taken from it. So it spends its life in a state of stuck in a state of fight or flight for its lifetime. We meet so many kids who are in a state of fight or flight. Fight and flight aren't their go-to responses, but they've been told that they can't freeze, and so they're stuck
mm,
between. They don't know which to take, fight or flight. Again, if you're a child coming out of the womb and you want to run away, and you're trying to run away, and then the midwife wraps you up in a blanket and puts you into a cot. Again, you're told fight isn't safe or flight isn't safe, and so you go through life in a, if flight's taken from you, you go through a response of fight or freeze, which aren't your natural responses. If when you came out of the womb you were trying to fight, you're wrapped in a blanket, you're told fight isn't safe, and then you become a passive victim where you're running away or freezing. But they're not your natural responses, so you're not in your comfortable zone because your comfort zone is to fight. And then the child comes out of the room, happy, joyous, and free. All of its responses are intact. It's handed to the mother because it's a happy, joyful child. The mother holds it to its room, to its bosom, and their hearts connect, and it's all fine. That child goes on Martin Luther King or Jimmy Carter or some famous person we see up there who's got all their stuff together. They're strong, independent. So I think that's what we have in life. So I think 3/4 of the world's population suffer trauma before they're born, or
mm,
before they come into the world. That they're robbed of their fight, flight, or freeze, and that has effect on them growing up. So that's the start of it, okay? And for me, I believe that my response was to fight, and it was taken from me. So I came in to life in a state of fight or flees, and I became a victim that'd run away or hide anytime anything would happen. I
mm,
knew instinctively I wanted to fight it, but because fight had been taken from me, I would revert to two uncomfortable responses of fight or flight or freeze. So I never felt comfortable even doing those actions. And that really upset my mental state, my emotional state. And then that happens for all of us. Now, again, I don't want to be blaming midwives or the doctors saying it just happened that this is what happened. But I think it's up to us today to teach children, if they have a fear of freezing, how to freeze. If they have a fear of fighting, how to fight. Rather than medicating them, we need to teach children that it's okay to. So my suggestion, if I have a client who comes into me who's fearful, who's stuck in a state of fight or flight, I teach them to freeze. I have
mm.
them curl up in a ball and a beanbag in the corner, and they can basically lay there in the corner and be in a safe place of just not doing anything and just freezing and falling asleep or something and just freezing. And then half an hour later, come out of the group and we talk about what that felt like. And they learn it's okay to freeze again. And
Mm,
once they embrace their freezing, they're fine. Once they embrace their fight, the one that the response that was taken from them, once that's embraced fully, they can manage anything. You
mm,
know, they're back to being a whole person. So that's where I came from. That behind the behind my experience, and then as a child at the age of 12, I suffered an abuse.
mm,
I don't want to trigger anybody, and I thought it was my fault. I thought I must have attracted the person to me. I must have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. All those things that a 12-year-old child would think. I blame myself. So it filled me with such shame and self-loathing that it wasn't I didn't want to live, or it wasn't I didn't want to die. I didn't want to live. And being a victim, I'd never take my own life. I was afraid of the repercussions. And so I lived my life where I didn't even live it. I endured life where I pretended I was okay when I wasn't. And all that stuff that children do, self-harming and really pushing people away, all that kind of stuff. That's where I was from the age of 12 until probably 19. And then I ended up getting into addictions. My best friend then was computer machines, playing poker machines, because it wasn't involving other human beings. And I could sit with a machine and flashing lights, and I could feel myself, whatever. I could feel empowered by myself playing on a machine, have power or something. But I wasn't comfortable around anybody, family, friends, whatever. That's where I came from, that kind of sense of brokenness and feeling that I don't deserve life and something wrong with me and God doesn't love me and how could this happen to me and all that anger and rage and my family are normal and healthy and I'm the one, why with me, and all the kind of crazy stuff you can suffer in childhood. And if you haven't got caring guardians or parents to help you out of it, just go deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you kind of took that experience and you were like, I could help other people who have been through some similar trauma or something like that.
Well, I wish to say yes, but no. I stayed that way for maybe 40 years. I remained a victim, blaming my past. I wouldn't move forward. So I was growing physically as an adult, but mentally, emotionally, I was still a trapped 12-year-old child in an adult body. So I was great around children and hopeless around adults. And it was hilarious. People say, God, you're fantastic with kids. Oh, you're great. The kids love you. And the thing was, I was comfortable with kids. I was comfortable playing with kids, but I wasn't comfortable having an adult conversation with adults. So I was 27 years of age, and then 35 years of age, and then 44 years of age. And I was fantastic with kids. People say, you should be a teacher. You should work with children. You're fantastic with kids. And the truth was, I was comfortable being me with kids because I was a child trapped in an adult body. And that happened for many of us, But at some stage, I had to find a way of breaking that and becoming an adult in an adult's body. And that was really my starting journey, was finding. So I joined groups like CODA to learn about boundaries and healthy boundaries and respecting people's boundaries and that kind of stuff. And other groups to teach me how to be an adult. There was a big learning curve for me to learn that. I'm going to stop there for a moment because if I keep talking now, you won't get a
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm here to feature you, so it's all right. Don't feel like you're talking too much. It's all good. I'm interested to know, like, so you eventually did kind of break out of that state and everything. What made you start the work that you do now? What made you start, Trauma Recovery Anonymous and that kind of work?
Okay. So I jump ahead. So of course, because of my journey, I ended up becoming alcoholic. And I could be compulsive gambler. I got introduced to a 12-step program for both, and it's blown away that a 12-step program could empower anybody to self-realization. I mean, it's phenomenal. Probably the greatest gift the world got in the 20th century was this 21st century was the 12-step program. It's a wonderful tool. And then when I got rid of my trauma, what happened? I had this sponsor. They call him a sponsor, a mentor in AA. And he said to me one day, isn't it time you let go of the past? Isn't it time you stop blaming the past for who you are and get into the present? And I was furious at him. How can he deny me my victimhood? How can he say these things? But I realized he was the first man in probably a long time I'd actually allowed to get close and have an intimate relationship with, speaking. And I didn't want to throw that away. So I listened to his words and I tried to find out what was wrong. And I realized the past wasn't mine to deal with. So I'm a 64-year-old man today. This happened 10 years ago, but if I'm a 64-year-old man today, I can't be a 12-year-old child 50 years ago. So what happened to a 12-year-old child happened to a 12-year-old child. It didn't happen to the 64-year-old man. So I realized I carry the memory of what happened to that 12-year-old child. And I carry sympathy pains for what he went through. But he went through it. I didn't go through it. I have my life today, and here I am on your podcast. And I've got plans with my family today. But I have nothing to do with it if something happened 50 years ago. And if I went back in 50 years' time, if I could travel back in 50 years, I know if I stepped into that space, I'd kill your man. He wouldn't get anywhere near the 12-year-old version of me. So it didn't happen to me. And that was the wonderful experience of release, that it didn't happen to me. It was none of my business. I had to give those sympathy pains back to my younger self. And from that I created a healing event. And over here in Thailand, you do any job you can get. I was an English teacher for a while with no qualifications, but if you speak English, you become an English teacher. And from then, there was a treatment center here called the Cabin, the biggest addiction center in all of Asia, really big. And I applied there for a job, and they gave me the opportunity to become a member of the support staff. And it was really a wonderful experience working with addicts and people who were troubled mentally, emotionally, whatever, and help them, whatever. And it was really cool working with them. And then the clinical director was a guy by the name of, most powerful character ever. He died, unfortunately, but he gave me an opportunity to move from support into holistic. And I got to work with clients one-on-one. So this idea I had of teaching clients to let go of the past, I used it on the clients that I got to work with over about a 4-year period. And I dealt with about 100 clients, and I got them to break free of their past. It was a wonderful experience, really cool. And then with COVID, I left that, and I wanted to find a way of creating a 12-step program to go with the healing event. So I knew the 12-step program as they were structured, but they weren't suitable for trauma, because in regular 12-step programs, your first line of defense is abstaining from the first drink, the first stroke, the first behavior. But with trauma recovery anonymous, we've given the past back to our younger. Details are gone. There's no abstaining involved, because now it's gone. Now you want to learn how to just live free of the mental diagnosis of the trauma. So we had to create a different 12-step program. And that took basically all the years of COVID to create that program. But finally it got created, and about a year ago I launched it. So now the whole program of the healing event, which takes about 2 hours, and the 12-step program takes about an hour. It's a 3-hour event. You can break free completely of any mental disorder caused by any past trauma memory.
Wow, that's really impressive, and it's great that you've been able to kind of work through all of that. It sounds like it was a very kind of organic, like you just went from one thing to the next, to the see the need and then create something to fulfill that need. That's wonderful. You mentioned you have plans with your family later, and you're doing this, and you've got this work. How do you balance your work and hobbies and taking care of your own well-being? How do you balance those?
There's a spiritual advisor I had about 4 or 5 years ago, and he told me that God gave us 24 hours. He gave us 3 8-hour segments. Okay, you have 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of play, and 8 hours of work, and they should never cross over. Now I know sometimes the boss might ask you to work overtime, but you get that in advance, and you tell him you'll work overtime if he gives you double time back, plus he pays you for a regular hour. So he's asking you to work. So normally they say it's time or time and a half. You say, no, I will work for you if you want me to work for you. But you have to give me double time as free time. And then I want you to pay me the regular hour work. And if you hold that boundary, every boss will say to you, yes, I meet those requirements. Don't think because they say you have to work time and a half that you have to work time and a half. You say, I have no problem giving you my time, but my time is valuable. It's valuable to my family and my friends. So I will work overtime for you. But if I'm working in 1 hour tonight, I'm taking 2 hours during the week, and then you're going to pay me for that hour I worked. That doesn't cost your boss anything to meet these requirements if he can get you working. He wants MommaFoxFire working. He doesn't want anyone else. He wants you to do a specific job. And to get you, he works on your terms. So don't be afraid to say to your boss, I will work overtime, but I want double time back for free time for my family and my hobbies and crafts. And I want you to pay me the regular hourly rate for working.
Yeah.
Again, they can do this. Don't think they can't do it. So what you do is you have your 8 hours of work, and that's you're committed to. And I say if you have to do a few extra hours, you're getting double time back to make up for it. Okay? So that's first thing. Secondly, I created a prayer practice, which I love, and I'm going to share it with you now if I can. It's for the 8 hours. So tonight, if you're not a member of a church, a denomination, or a man-made religion, that's okay. Jesus didn't preach to the converted. He went looking for the downtrodden and the brokenhearted and the lost and lonely and the mentally ill, emotionally. So if you are not a member of a church, you can have God in your life without ever going near a church. The Bible says that he wants you to go into your bedroom, lock the door, close the curtains, turn off the lights, climb into your wardrobe, and in secret, have a conversation with him. Don't go near any church. Don't have to join of any kind. That's something first you need to know. So I tell that to all my clients. Now for this practice, for the first night, you need to get down on your knees. It's a sign of submission to God that you're going to let him take your pain from you. So with a pen and paper, write out every person, place, and thing that irritates you, frustrates you, annoys you, triggers you. On a piece of paper, write them all down. Okay, me talking about God is really irritating you, put my name down. MommaFoxFire had me on a show, put her name down. Put God's name down. Don't put down your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, your abusers, your tormentors, your bullies, your teasers, and then your feelings and emotions. I hate this feeling of anxiety or depression. Put it all down on the sheet of paper. When you get your sheet of paper ready, get down on your knees and hold your hands up about ear height, okay? And then you allow my words to become your words, okay? So first of all, breathe into your nose only for the rest of your. When we breathe into our mouths, we aggravate anxiety and panic in our chests and stress in our shoulders. When you breathe into your nose, the breath bypasses these areas and you can stop yourself from having panic attacks just by breathing into your nose. Just in this moment, breathe into your nose and allow my words to be your words. So here are the words, okay? Lord God, I've carried this cross since the day I was born. And like your son, Jesus, I have fallen more than once. On this cross, as all of my depression, despair, and fears of the past, and all of the anxiety, fear, and panic of the unknown future, and this list. And then you read out your list. Richard tells me if I give this to you now, you'll take it all for 8 hours of peaceful sleep. And so I freely and unconditionally and willingly give you all of this past, all of the future, and all of this list to take from me just for these 8 hours. I can take it back in the morning, but just for now, I'm giving it to you so you can give me 8 hours of peaceful sleep. Thank you very much. That's your prayer. You go into your bathroom. If you have a lighter, that's very, very helpful. Go into your bathroom, tear up your list, and if you have a lighter, burn the list as a burnt offering, then drop it in the toilet and flush it away. Psychologically, when you can release something from your environment, it's gone. Then go back into your bedroom, climb into your bed, place your head in the pillow, close your eyes, put a gentle smile on your face, and suddenly you'll wake up 8 hours later with no nightmares, no flashbacks, no triggers. It's mind-blowing how easy this is. You'll wake up the next morning free of all your past. And then you'll find you've got all that stuff back. You'll be thinking about it again today. So then during your day, realize, well, if God gives me 8 hours at night time, I'll ask him for 10 minutes here while I walk to work. And I'll ask him for 20 minutes while I'm on the commute, or 40 minutes in the bus, or 40 minutes in the train, or I have an appointment with my boss this morning. I'll ask him to take all my stuff from me for 40 minutes while I'm in my interview with my boss, but he's given out to me so I won't react back and lose my job. But I'm going on a date. Okay, I need 2 hours. God, take it all from me, 2 hours, be normal. And you learn to ask him to take it from you for these small periods of time, and he will. Suddenly, I can have God without being involved in any church. I don't tell anyone I'm doing this. I'm keeping this open. But I can have 8 hours of sleep at night than I can have during my day, my work day, and during my social day. So that's for the 8 hours at night. Again, for the 8 hours in your work, you give 100% commitment to your work. Even if you hate your job, you give 100% commitment in that job. And you can apply for jobs elsewhere. You can go to libraries and you can go online courses and to train yourself up. You can go to your boss and say, I'm not enjoying my work. I really feel stuck. Is there any training you can give me that will improve me or improve my environment, or is there a different department you can transfer me to? Because I'm not being of benefit to you and your job isn't the passion it should be for me. And your boss will be very happy to hear this and help you to be the best you can be for him. He's paying you to do a job. He wants to do that job. He chose you. So don't be afraid to ask your boss for extra training or for help in maybe a mentor or something to help you in your job. They'll do that in a flash. That's your work. Now your 8 hours of play, again, this spiritual advisor told me you should have 7 interests in your free time. So, okay, for myself, there's my own self-care as 1. There's time for my wife, 2. There's time for both of my children, that's 4. And then it's time for us as a family unit, 5. I play golf, that's 6. I play chess, that's 7. I do my reading and my writing, that's 8 and 9. I do journaling, that's 10. My prayer is 11. And then you keep adding on. So what happens is if you can fill your free time with all these different activities and interests and hobbies and crafts, if you lose your job, if your partner leaves you, if the world's ending, your world won't fall apart. You've got all these networks created. That's the idea behind it. So if I lose my job tomorrow, I know I can fall back on all the support groups I have in my family, in my chess, and in my golf, and in my friendships, and in my prayer. So I have all this background. But if I'm focused only on my job, and say I just go to my job, come home, and I'm on the couch eating crap, watching TV for my 8 hours of my free time, go to work again, I lose my job, I'm going to suffer in the endless despair and depression that my world is over. Or my partner leaves me, my boyfriend or girlfriend leaves me, oh, my world is over, they made me and they've left me and I can't do it. And that's what happens an awful lot to people. They get stuck dependent on a job or a partner, or one thing, or their one thing is their crafts. And suddenly, for some reason, they break their arm. And it's like, my world is over, and they go to a dark place. So you want to fill up your 8 hours of free time with as much as you can put in there. And not just even just when you say your daughter, your son, also your daughter and son's interests. So you have your daughter, but then your daughter likes to go parachute gliding or rock climbing. You go and watch that. And that's another thing your parents have, and you're interacting with them, and you're building more networks. So try and expand. Those 8 hours are the 8 hours you have. Your 8 hours at night time you've given to God. Your 8 hours in your job, your boss and your manager is the boss. But in your free time, you can fill your free time up with so much. I mean, I was looking at the MommaFoxFire's room with all her paintings and her glow lights and all her clothing and all kind of stuff. And she tells me she's got 2 kids. She's all these things in her life. She's not going to fall apart. I get that from your impression, looking at you. That one thing, if your boyfriend left you or something, your world wouldn't collapse. You may be upset now. I'm saying you wouldn't be upset. Or if you lost a job or the internet went down, you couldn't do it, and you lost your passion. But you'd find some other way. You'd have enough in your gas tank of all these different network things that you created that you'd find some other way to express yourself. That's the idea behind it.
Yeah. I really feel like it's a great way to kind of explain that too, because, I lived through the housing crisis in 2008 and I did lose my job because I was in general contracting. And so everyone in that field basically lost their job, but I was able to make it through, and it took me some time, but I was able to find another job. And like, it was very much like I leaned on family. I leaned on friends. I did all this stuff. And, some of the other stuff that I've lived through in my life, now definitely I have that confidence of, okay, if something happens to my job, to my partner, to one of my kids or something, like whatever it is, we'll handle it as it comes. It's just that kind of thing of like, okay, you've got all these connections. If something happens with my job, okay, well, I've got a lot of people that I still talk to from old jobs that I can just go and see how they're doing, and I keep up with them and all this. And then if something happens with my youngest, he does jujitsu and judo, and like if something happens there and he gets injured, like I've got all of these folks, all these other parents from that I can just call up and be like, what do I do? And so it's really nice to have that kind of network and have that mentality of, yeah, you're doing all these things. You got to look at that as your support network and as kind of that net to catch you if you need to fall a little bit. I think that's a really great way to kind of put that through. And I love this comment from the chat, because whenever you were talking about the prayer and writing everything down, Bite Mark says that's going to be a long list. And I wonder, though, if it would get shorter over time, like as you're writing it down, every day is like, oh, well, I don't have to write down MommaFoxFire because she didn't have a live show today. Like,
well, exactly. The whole thing is, there's 2 things I'd like to share with you. One is we're meant to be a part of the solution, not apart from the solution. So many people who've been diagnosed with disorders, being diagnosed with disorder causes you to push people away. They feel they don't understand you, they don't get you, all that kind of stuff. And it makes you withdraw into yourself more and more. And this really can destroy your life if you're depending on being only with you or just you and other people who are broken. It's not a healthy way to live. You've got to find a way of, like that, expanding your 8 hours to get into as many different fields, to take chances and tell people how you're feeling. So start with God first. Tell God how you're feeling on that sheet of paper, and that sheet of paper will get smaller. You'll night in after night, and you're getting in. People who used to trigger you won't trigger anymore. What will happen is you're walking along and you'll meet someone, your uncle, and suddenly you walk in and they've lost their power over you. So if you're abused by somebody and they have the ability to walk into a room and you just cower in a corner and collapse, and they're able to do what they want. As you do this more and more, you'll find suddenly they'll walk into a room and it's like you'll say and kind of go, fuck off, get away from me, step back, you're not welcome here. And they'll be shocked that you've got your power back. Simply by giving them to God, God takes them on his. Now, here's the cool thing. We have 2 choices. We can't have our cake and eat. If we search for vengeance and justice on this earth, it means our abusers, when they die, they get to go to heaven. It sounds crazy. But if we don't search for vengeance and justice on this earth, and we give it to God, then they may have a wonderful life on this earth. They may have abundant life and big cars and big houses and travel the world and be multimillionaires. But when they do die, they're going straight to hell. So you can choose either for them to face your wrath or God's wrath. But the Bible says you harm one hair on the child of God. Better for you to tie a rock around your neck or climb to the highest mountain and throw yourself in the deepest sea than face my wrath. If you're a Catholic, you won't get to go to St. Peter and argue. If you abuse somebody and they didn't pursue the abuse on this earth, you will face the fires of hell for all eternity. And 7 generations of yours to follow will follow you down into the fires of hell. So my choice was, I can keep searching for vengeance. What happened to me as a 12-year-old child. And let's imagine, for instance, I won the case and they're brought into the courts, and the courts find them guilty. The courts will say, well, it happened 50 years ago and the jails are really full, so we let them off with a slap in the wrist. Would that equate to my abuse as a 12-year-old child? No way.
Right.
So would I be happy with that, or see him arriving at the pearly gates and finding he doesn't even get to the pearly gates? He drops straight into hell and he lives there for all eternity. Yes, I'll take that in a flash. That equates to my pain. That would be equal to my pain. And so that's what I did. I gave my wrath to God. I forgave the person. I wish them well. I wish they have abundant life. I know when they get to the other side, they're going to have the fires of hell for eternity. So you have to pray for the other person. Wish them the very best in life, that they have everything, wealth and prosperity and health and all the kind of travel the world and all the kind of stuff you want for yourself, you wish for them. And that takes your power back from them. So when you meet them, they don't have any effect on you. And then you'll find you can mark them off your list. Give them to God. They don't have any power over you. They come off your list. But your list will always change because we live in this fallen world and we're meeting people that annoy us and frustrate us. And if you're living this life on life's terms, it's a bitch. If you live this life on God's terms, suddenly everything starts working out because you realize you were never the victim. I realized today I was of my abuser. He wanted to act out in his abusing. And in fact, that happened. It wasn't I was he invaded space. He could have invaded somebody else's space. He invaded my space. He came into my space. It wasn't my fault. I wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I wasn't his victim. If some other child had been there, he would have taken them. He would have hurt them. I happened to be just his victim on that day, but I'm not actually, he didn't wake up thinking, I have to look for a child called Richard Tierney and abuse him. So I wasn't his intended victim. So you learn you're not the victim, you're not the target of anything in life, whatever's happening. If your boss fires you, he's not firing you because he doesn't like you. He's firing you because he needs someone to do a job that you do. But you're not the victim. It's him meeting his own needs. This is a great help to help you get out of this state of mental, emotional unwellness, to understand that we're not the victim or the martyr. People are doing stuff because that's what they do. People do shit. We may not like it, but they're doing their own stuff. They're not doing it to us. They're doing it for their own benefits or their own needs to be met. And that helps enough now to break free of this. The second part of this, and again, I'm going into God again, and I can't help it, but understand that you and I are children of God. Okay, we are perfect exactly as we are, with all our defects, all our shortcomings, all our doubts and all our insecurities, all our peculiarities. We are perfect exactly as we are. God created us as we are. He created us for a reason. Others can do what we can do, but nobody can do what you or I can do with our energy. That's what makes us so unique and so special. And God has never made a mistake in all of creation, starting with you or I. You were created for a reason. You have purpose. When you find that reason and you find that purpose, you will know a life beyond your wildest dreams. So just don't give up just yet. The miracles are going to happen when they're around the corner. It might be on MommaFoxFire that you realize, I have purpose. I have a reason for living. I'm going to go on now and I'm going to start using that list. I'm going to start setting boundaries with my boss, with my family. I'm going to looking into my social life and creating more networking. Suddenly you realize, God, I'm going to write a book about this. I'm going to create a vlog or follow from MommaFoxFire and start a podcast. You don't know what your purpose is just yet because you've been kind of stuck. But when you can get out of that stickiness, I need to call it, and step into finding your path, you'll be blown away.
Now we've talked a little bit about God. We've talked a little bit about religion. What was your personal relationship with religion or spirituality growing up, and how has that changed over time?
I was raised in a Roman Catholic home. My family were all Roman Catholics. We lived in Ireland, and my father came up, and my parents, both my father and my mother, and my grandparents came up when we were under the rule of England. and England ruled Ireland, and it was a really bad time to be a Catholic. You weren't allowed to practice your Catholic faith.
Mm.
And there's a lot of abuse going on from the English who ruled Ireland at that time. It was a civil war in the end. And that's why Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland are separate. England still own Northern Ireland. It's not part of Ireland. There's a lot of bad blood around religion. And even soccer teams here, they don't play because they're different nationals. They play because of religion. So that, like in Scotland, you got Rangers. Celtic is a Catholic football team, and Rangers is the Protestant.
Mm.
And the hatred is for the religion and not for the. So a lot of stuff was behind in the background. My grandfather was on a prison ship in Dublin Bay. The English had him in a prison ship because he fought against the English in the Civil War, and so on. So there's a lot of history that you're carrying on your shoulders as well, and the past and all that kind of stuff. And that affects who you believe and what you believe and how you believe. So a Catholic can never not be a Catholic, because then you're betraying your ancestors. All that kind of stuff comes into it, which is really bad, because it really kind of blocks you from finding Christ. You no longer are you Christian for being a Christian. You're a Christian because you're either a Catholic or a Protestant or a Presbyterian or Baptist or whatever it is. So growing up, I grew up in a Catholic upbringing, and it just didn't work for me. I had two friends who committed suicide. They couldn't take it anymore, and they committed suicide. And they weren't allowed to be buried in Catholic grounds because they committed suicide. It was a sin. They weren't allowed to have a service in the church. And this struck me as completely wrong.
Yeah.
If Jesus was alive today, he would have let them into any church, kicked out the taxpayers and the money collectors and the money lenders and the sellers, but he would have certainly left any child who either lost their life or took their life. He would have given them a space. I just believe that of Jesus, that's just the way he was. And you read the New Testament, that's who he was. He would never have dreamed of saying no to somebody coming in, for their families to grieve. So that turned me from the Roman Catholic faith, and among other things. So a great part of it for me was that I told MommaFoxFire earlier on, I did a geographical. I ran away from myself and I moved to live 20 odd years ago. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like my life. Nothing about my life I liked. I was in that victimhood state in Ireland, so I ran to live in Thailand, and I ran away. Not a healthy person at all back then. But I also ran from my religion and the upbringing and all those rules of being a Catholic. I got to leave that behind me. And I got to meet a lot of other people in Thailand here who are also in recovery, but there's Protestants and Catholics and Presbyterians and Anglicans and Baptists and Jehovah. There's different churches you could go to here. And I started doing all that, and I found great sense of understanding from different religions. Taught me an awful lot. Different denominations, sorry, not religion. Always remained a Christian. So I joined a Protestant Baptist church, a Presbyterian church. It wasn't that I was hopping around. I just tried to find one that would fit. But it came to a stage where I realized no man-made religion would fit my needs. But the Bible fitted it, Jesus fitted it, and God fitted it, and Christ fitted it. And that was enough for me. So today I'm not a member of any man-made religion. I'm not a member of any church or any denomination. But I do have my Bible. I believe that I am a son of God. I believe I am a sibling of Jesus. And I believe that today I am Richard the Christ. I can't perform the miracles that Jesus performed, but I can perform miracles in my mind. Like I know I can perform the miracle of peace of mind, of casting out my triggers, casting out my nightmares at night time. And they're miracles for me, because I used to go to bed and I would be tossing all night long. I'd be crying into my pillow with the nightmares and the triggers and the voice in my head assailing me. And so when I did that letter and I gave it to God and I gave him the voices in my head and the nightmares and the flashbacks and the triggers, I would get 8 hours of peace of mind. And that was a miracle to me. So I realized I was a miracle worker. I was able to perform a miracle on myself and get 8 hours of peace of sleep. So that was the kind of the change. I'm no longer, now if you're a member of a church or religion, I'm delighted for you. If that works for you, go for it. I'm not saying you can't go for it, you shouldn't go for it. For me, it doesn't work. But having God, Jesus, and Christ in my life works wonders. And I have conversations with God, Jesus, and Christ all day long. I'm walking the dog, I'm driving the car. Before I met up with MommaFoxFire, that I wouldn't make a show of myself. I prayed that he'd watch over me for the next, whatever it is, hour, and take care of me in this hour and remove all that letter from my mind, so I'd be peaceful and relaxed and speak slowly and clearly. And hopefully you'd all understand my words and I wouldn't sound like a crazy, raved lunatic, and maybe one of you would get some hope from me. And that's what I asked him to do. And hopefully I'm nailing it because he's taking that from me, and so on. And again, today with my wife, there's times when my wife and I can clash, and I just know self-restraint of pen, word, and tongue. I don't say a word. She says something to me, and even if she's right or wrong, I don't react, because if I say something back, we're screwed. We're going to be fighting for days. So I just zip my lid. I let it go, and then an hour later, my wife said to me, "I'm sorry, I got angry this morning. I was just in a bad space." But if I had responded, there would have been anarchy. And that's really, So you learn these things. You learn self-restraint is my greatest tool today. And then I'm going to self-restrain myself and let my host speak.
I mean, I feel like a lot of folks, especially in the US right now, a lot of folks are finding that kind of disenfranchisement with religion as far as the church goes. And it's like you're saying one thing, but if you go and read the actual Bible and you read the New Testament especially, like you're not following what the Bible says now. So I really think that that's going to resonate with a lot of folks, just saying, you know, you don't have to be religious to have a relationship with God. It can be completely separate. I think that that's something that some folks struggle with, and I'm glad to hear that it's working for you.
Well, that's the message.
Yeah.
Honestly, God wants a personal intimacy with you, with you alone, not with your mommy or daddy or your brother or sister or your abuser or your whatever, solely with you. He doesn't need you to go to some church and stand on the pews and put your hands up and do all this in front of people. That's getting glory on this earth. He says, I want to have this between you and I. And if you're in a bad mood, come over and say to me, God, you motherfucker, I'm really angry at you because I'm having a shit day. And give him your grief. Give him all your crap. Call him every name under the sun. You can call him. You can curse at the fella. He doesn't kind. As long as you're having a personal relationship with him, it's like you with your best friend. Your best friend allows you to have a bad day. Well, God wants to be your best friend. He wants you to have a bad day. If you're having a bad day, curse at him. Call him every name under the sun, and then tell him what's going on and ask him to take it from him. And that's it. And don't tell anyone. Now, the thing is, when I first started doing this, I told nobody. I didn't tell any of my siblings or my best friends I'm doing this. I kept it quiet for about 7 years. I just kept it to myself doing this day in, day out, day in, day out. And then finally, about 4 months ago, I was speaking to my best friend from Ireland. He's my close friend since childhood. And we were on the phone. I said to him, do you still go to church? He says, I do. I said, God, can I tell you about my God experience? And then we had a chat for about an hour and a half. I told him about what I'm doing with my God thing, whatever. And he said, yeah, he got back into going to church because he missed it in his life. The Sunday Mass at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night in his local church. Every night now he goes. He loves it. And he doesn't really get the priest or anything, but he sits there for the energy of it. And then when they talk about the scripture, he likes the words, lets them sink into his psyche. And then he like the communion, he just goes for that period of energy that gets him ready for the next week. You can do this any way you want to do this. You don't have to follow any rules or regulations. Priests say to you, you must do it this way. Tell them to feck off politely. Pastors, ministers, I'm not doing it that way. I want to have a personal relationship with him, not with you, personal relationship with God, not with your church, with God. Okay, I'm going to have that relationship with God. And there's great teachers out there you'll find on the internet, YouTube, whatever, and in libraries that can teach you to understand the Bible. The Bible was written with 2,000 years ago, and it's got a lot of language that we wouldn't understand in modern language. So you may have to get yourself a modern language and an explanation of it. And don't be afraid to do some study. Like you do some study. Well, this is for your spiritual well-being, to heal the whole of your soul and get rid of all these demons from you. So do the homework, just for you, for nobody else, not for me, not for MommaFoxFire, solely for you. Don't tell anyone you're doing it. Just go down to the library for an hour sit in the library. This is one of your new activities in your social time. An hour, 40 minutes. Sit in one corner with a book, read a book, get an audio file, and listen to an audio, and soak up anything to help you understand the words of Jesus and what it is to be Christ. So MommaFoxFire is Christ. I'm Christ. My wife is Christ. And my wife is a Buddhist. She's not a Christian, but I have to see Christ in my wife. I must see Christ in MommaFoxFire. So I know if I'm not going to treat MommaFoxFire disrespectfully, because then I'm treating Christ disrespectfully. And that would be a terrible no-no if I'm living this life. So I try to see Christ in every other person. So my wife is a Buddhist. She's not a Christian. Unfortunately, over here in Thailand, back in her, when she was at school, there was these browbeating Baptists going around forcing religion down the throats of children as missionaries. and she got turned off to it. So she's a Buddhist today, and she's remained a Buddhist. She's no desire to become a Christian. She's seen no reason why she should become a Christian. Her experience of Christians were these Bible thumping,
Yeah.
you're going to die if you don't get it kind of stuff, scaremongers. So she has an experience. I'm hoping to become that experience that she might turn over. But today she's a Buddhist and a Buddhist alone. But I see Christ in her. So I try then to self-restrain with her every occasion I can.
Yeah. And it's good that you're, there and accepting her and her experiences. And it's difficult whenever you have a negative experience to then equate an entire religion with something good after that, on the heels of that. You mentioned healing the hole in the soul. So what does healing the hole in the soul, what does that mean?
Okay. Thank you for the question. I love this question. It has been my favorite question, audience. When we suffer with a past trauma memory, and I've said before, it didn't happen to us, it happened to our younger self. And we carry that within our soul. And because we can't treat it, it eats away at us. And you know that. And anyone in this audience would know what I'm talking about. You all nodding in agreement. Like, no one sees it. That's the problem. No mental health professional, no family member can see the hole in your soul. They can only see how it manifests. So if you're crying a lot, or if you're overeating, or if you're drinking, self-harming, they're the behaviors they see. And they treat the behaviors. But the behaviors are part of your coping skills. They're not the problem. The problem is the hole in your soul. So we have to treat the hole in the soul. And it's a very simple, it's like, it's not rocket science. This is, a child could do this. And a lot of the audience will know, you can heal yourselves very, very simply. You're going to give the details of the past back to your younger self. So I use in my practice, it's a visualization. So imagine, just try this. Maybe we can treat somebody here today. Wouldn't that be really wonderful? So wherever you are, sit back in your seat. I want you to close your eyes, breathe into your nose only. Just breathe into your nose, relax your whole body, okay? I don't need to know your story or your history, as long as you know your. I want you to picture two people, the person you are today, and that version of you who suffered the trauma. So for me, I'd be looking at 64-year-old Richard standing beside 12-year-old Richie. I give them two different names. So Richard today and 12-year-old Richie is the child. So in your mind, try and pick those people standing side by side. So MommaFoxFire, I thought you were very young. Son, I'm kind of going, how old is this girl? Like, she looks about 17. She's an 18-year-old son. So let's imagine then you must be about 30, say. So let's say you're 30 years of age, okay? And in your childhood, there was someone who was 12. Again, so you'd be seeing 30-year-olds, MommaFoxFire, standing beside this young 12-year-old child, okay? So again, picture yourself today standing beside that younger version, okay? Breathing into your nose, let your mind clear. In this moment, imagine you're having a conversation. Now you're going to have this 12-year-old child, this younger version of you talking to you. It won't be pretty. Allow my words to sink into your psyche. Okay, here goes. What are you doing? I've been trying to get your attention for all these years. I can't cross over into the light until I have. And you taking my baggage into the present and living it as though it happened to you means I can't cross over. I'm stuck in a state of limbo, like a purgatory. I can't cross over into the light, into heaven. I can see all of our ancestors waiting for me. I can see God and Jesus, and they're waiting to hold me in their arms and give me peace. This world isn't for me. I suffered in my childhood. You to let me. It's not your job to fight my battles for me or to suffer my pain for me. I never asked, wanted, or needed you to fight my battles or suffer my pains. All I want from you is to go on and have the life that I sacrificed so much for you to have. A life in your present beyond my wildest dreams. I suffered, endured, survived, and overcame my trauma, so you'd be free today to have a life beyond my wildest dreams. You wouldn't be alive today if I hadn't survived, and I hadn't overcome the trauma. So please, for me, let go of this baggage and details and step into the life you have with your family, your partner, your children, your friends, and have an abundant, rich life in the present. So I'm going to ask you in this moment, just release all the baggage, all the sympathy pains, all the need for vengeance and justice. In your mind's eye, imagine seeing yourself with a big bag on your shoulders. Place your hands upon your chest. Imagine you're pulling the straps off your chest. Open your hands and shake your hands off. The bag falls off your shoulders. Feel it falling from your shoulders. And see me sending a host of angels to take this bag up off your shoulders. and carrying it away. Feel it release in your body, like a lightness in your body. You're letting go of all this baggage, all the nightmares, flashbacks, and the triggers. You're letting it all go in this one moment, just releasing it. The past is gone. It's no longer yours. You see me taking it. I step into the light. I'm waving back at you. Thank you. I step into the light and I'm gone. And when you're ready, when you come back to the moment, open your eyes and feel the sense that you have let go of your past. You've given it to your younger self. They've stepped into the light. They're gone from this plane of existence. And now all the details and the baggage is gone. If your therapist was to ask you about the past, you'd be able to say, sorry, I can't help you. It didn't happen to me. I don't have those details anymore. They've left this plane of existence. It happened to my younger self. I feel for them, but they're gone. If you can help me work out my life today, that'd be great, but the past is gone. That's basically the 2-hour healing event in about. That's why we take you through a visualization where you'd be giving this back to your younger self. Now, again, you have to release all the energy in your body, and I use EFT and acupressure, and I use some Reiki, all combined to get that energy out of your body, to get that back to yourself, and it's gone. But in that moment, if you can feel a sense of change in your being, well, know that you're on the way to healing.
It's really interesting. I think that the parallel between what you said earlier about forgiving someone and just like letting that go and saying like, I forgive this person. I'm not going to think about them anymore. I wish them all the best. It's kind of doing the same thing with your younger self. It's not necessarily forgiveness, but it's saying like, I was a different person. That happened to me when I was a different person. I don't need to carry that weight with me now. I feel like those are so close. Like they're such close ideas to one another. It's really fascinating to me. But I really enjoy the idea of saying, okay, this happened to me. I wasn't the person that I am today. You know, it's like I was 25, now I'm 40. That's a completely different person from what I am now. And it's really neat to just kind of look at that and go, okay, I get it. I get that it wasn't me anymore. But I don't think a lot of folks think about it that way. Like you can really ruminate on it and get caught up in it.
The problem is we've been conditioned into believing that what happened to a girl 25 years ago happened to 40-year-old MommaFoxFire. Mm-hmm. So we talk about it happened to me, the 25-year-old me, but it didn't happen to you. You have to understand you only exist in. Mm-hmm. When you go to bed last night and you give it to God and He takes it from you, you only have these 24 hours. And if you've given 8 hours to God, you have 16 hours, and you're only alive for 16 hours, you now live immortal at a time. And you're not the person you were yesterday, because yesterday you weren't having a chat with me. Today you're having a chat with me, so you're a different person. So you can't say that the person you are today is the person you were yesterday, because you are 24 hours older and wiser. You've had 24 hours more experience. So you've experienced my podcast and my truths have been shared, and they have changed you. Even though you may not agree with me fully, or you might agree, your brain has changed, your energy has changed about for your audience. All your audience, they've changed their opinion of it. They're not the same person they were yesterday. They can't go back and be yesterday, because what they've learned in your podcast today, they are now different. So if you're 40 years old today, you cannot be 25-year-olds. That's why you have to see the two people side by side. Yeah. You have to separate. I'm 40 years of age today. That's a 25-year-old child. I can't say that's me, because that's a different person. That's a 25-year-old child. And I'm a 40-year-old woman today, where Donald Trump's the president of America. 25 years ago, the president of America was John Ford or whoever, 25 years ago, 15 years ago. So we're not the same person. No, all his family were alive. He lived in the family home. She lived in the family home 15 years ago. I live in my own home with my husband, kids, whatever. Once you can really paint a picture of who you are today and who that child is, you're able to separate, and don't be saying that was the 25-year-old me, because it never was. Yeah. It can't be you, because you live today. So that's what the goal of this. That's why it takes 2 hours, not 5 minutes. We need your audience to get to a place where they sheet of paper, they write down their younger self. So if they're 17 years of age, down 5-year-old Becky, and then you put everything but 5-year-old Becky. Lived in a dysfunctional home, lived in the family home. The grandparents were alive, the parents were alive, aunts and uncles were alive. Their best school friend was so and so, so and so. And then you get a sheet of paper and you put down 17-year-old Rebecca no longer lives in a family home, no longer sees her parents, doesn't see much of her relations, lives on the other side of the country. Her best school friend today is this. In university today, this child was in a junior school. So you draw this whole comparison, 2 sheets of paper, and you may put a photograph of 5-year-old Becky on this page and a photograph of 17-year-old Rebecca here to show the 2 different people.
Yeah.
The whole thing for this is we have to see we're not the same person we were yesterday. So we're not the same for 10 years or 50 years. And if we can do that by drawing these 2 comparisons, then you have to see that I'm carrying the baggage of somebody else. They never asked me to carry it. They never wanted me to carry it. And it's like, here's one for you. So, okay, I gather you're 40 years of age. So let's imagine you have trauma in your day today. There's stuff going on in your life today. Nothing to do with the past. You're having difficulty with neighbors or something in your life today. It's really getting you down, okay? But you're committed to overcoming it today so that in the future, okay? Now imagine you're looking into the future, you see a 60-year-old version of you, okay? You see them in their future, you've sacrificed so much for them, you see them in their futures. Putting out a dark chest from the corner, pulling up that chest and putting out a cloak, and putting the cloak on the body and putting it up and stepping out into the world a few times saying, this happened to me, and they're telling you everything that happened to you 20 years ago happened. How does that make you feel?
So
would you be happy with something that for you, or would you be a bit?
I think we're having a little bit of connection issues, but I mean, I think, yeah, I think the gist of that is, this is a great comment from Bite Mark. She says it's all about letting go of the rope that's cutting into your hand. If that information isn't serving you now, you're not the same person that you were back then. So it's yeah.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd love to use a comment if that's okay with you. I'm going to use it in future. Yeah, that's it. You have to understand it didn't happen to us. So again, when we had the glitch, your future self starts suffering your past in 20 years' time.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to say something, will you have your life as we grant you and leave life? And that's what our younger self is saying. So in the past, your younger self is trying to get your attention, looking at you in the clouds saying, look over here, you recognition. You have to say, again, because we've been conditioned so much, we are being a victim.
Yeah.
So our meaning is being a victim of what happened. That's where I was for many years. And you have to find your meaning in the present, not in the past. So we have to let our past go, let all that sense of identity go to, I was abused. Yeah, I suffer from PTSD. That becomes our badge of honor. That becomes our identity, and that becomes what we think is our meaning for. But that was never your meaning for life. That was belonging to somebody else. God wants you to find your life, and MommaFoxFire has her life in this podcast.
Yeah.
Her passion. I mean, she's finding her space here and being a parent to 2 children and a partner. She's finding her space outside of the past, and that's what we all must do. So I've let my past go. I've given that past back to me, and now I'm a husband and a father, and I'm a therapist, and I'm a friend, and I'm a cyclist, and a golfer, and a chess player, and an author, and I find all my meaning in the. And again, on this podcast, if one word of mine affords you hope, then I've done God's will. Then I've found my meaning. If I like to think, I share this an awful lot. Just imagine for one moment that MommaFoxFire and I have this podcast today, okay? And we reach one of your audience, maybe the girl who spoke about the let go of the rope, they take hope from these words and they go on to start a life free of the past. They have a life beyond their wildest dreams. They get married. And one of their descendants in 3 or 4 creates a cure for cancer or AIDS. Now, no one will give the recognition or the accolades to myself and MommaFoxFire, but God will know we did our part. Yeah. We played our part. And the same thing, no one will give accolades or recognition to the girl who mentioned about the rope, let go of the rope, but God will know that she did her part by carrying it forward into her life. And that's where she'll get her rewards from God. Yeah. So we may not get the reward for what we do here today, any of us who are listening to this, but if this creates in us the ability to change the lives of those following us, then that may have been our cause. That may have been our meaning for life, our purpose. So you were created for a reason. There's somewhere in your future you can help your descendants, or maybe your cousin's descendants, or your best friend's descendants go on to create a cure for cancer or AIDS, and you've played your part by carrying this message. That's what I believe is our goal.
Yeah. And she did say you're welcome to have that comment and use it as you would like. So that's great.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
A couple of other comments from the chat for sure I want to read. One of my favorite experiences so far since moving to Colorado has been a little old dude saying, "This is God's country," very emphatically in a positive way. And we both immediately agreed, it sure is. We didn't mean the same thing he did, but it didn't really matter. Both sides of that conversation were just appreciating the place we were in and the way it makes us feel. And we all left the conversation smiling. And that's referring back to kind of our conversation about religion versus having your own relationship with God. You can look at things in the world kind of the way that you want to look at them and take from them what you need without the rules of someone else saying, "Oh, this is God's country," and you don't have to take what they mean, however they intend it. You can receive it how you want to receive it and how that serves you. So I think that's great. And then another comment.
And we're God's children. So mm-hmm. Whether you're a Baptist or a Protestant or a Catholic or an atheist or an agnostic or whatever, we are all God's children. Mm. We're all equal in that.
Yeah. Another comment says, "Wait, if I choose to be my younger self, can I control who the president is? Because living in my trauma might be worth it on a universal scale." I hear you. I hear you. So, Richard, how do you view your work in the broader mental health landscape? Do you see it as a complement to therapy or something that replaces therapy? Or how do you see yourself fitting in?
Wow. This is like a loaded question. My problem is I'm not a mental health professional. Mm-hmm. I'm not qualified to be a mental health professional. I believe there's two forms of mental illness that we have in this world today. There's mental illness, which can only be treated by mental health professionals. And no one else should be going anywhere near that with a barge pole. Mm. But mental disorders are conditions, diagnoses caused by a past trauma memory. So if you have a past trauma in your life, now, when we go to a doctor, you go to a dentist, you go to the dentist, you don't tell the dentist, "My teeth are fine." If you have a sore tooth, you kind of go, "Oh, this tooth here is now." And you tell them the worst case scenario, and then they treat that. You go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, you give them the worst case scenario, how life can be, how bad it is. You don't go and say, "Yeah, no, life is fantastic, I'm loving my life." So you'll tell them how bad it can be. And then if they diagnose you on how bad it can be, that doesn't mean how bad it is. Mm. So I believe that veterans who come back from any conflict or war, they suffer with a state of hopelessness and a state of inferiority. That on the war zone, they were giants amongst men. They could achieve the most phenomenal stuff. But those skills are no good in the modern world, in the civilized world. And so they feel out of sorts. They don't fit in. They're no good at stacking shelves or doing menial work when they were saving the world and saving lives. It's a different thing. They can feel inferior in something that is mediocre compared to what they did. They can be failing in it, and they can feel inferior for that. That can cause a type of state of hopelessness. And when they go to a therapist, then they're not going to say life is wonderful. They're going to try and express the bouts of depression, the bouts of stress, the bouts of anxiety they experience in these times. And when they present that all together as one, they're diagnosed with a mental disorder called PTSD. Mm. But PTSD is a diagnosis of presenting. It's not the actual cause. The cause is I have nightmares and flashbacks because of this event in the past. I need to get rid of that. But the mental health professionals treat how it manifests. They give you medication for the depression and for the stress and for the anxiety and for all these reactions. But that's not their state of being. Their state of being is a sense of hopelessness. It can only be fed in the soul. So, and most mental health professions are not really excited focused because they have the whole thing's wrapped up in mental illness and mental. Holistic practitioners coming in, they're seen as being something kind of they'll put up with, but they're not really a part of the solution. Mm. And that's kind of that's kind of like the area that I'm in the kind of area where it's down to clients themselves to make a decision. The mental health industry will never say, "Go to Richard Tierney and get treated for your treatment," because that then undermines the whole mental industry mental health industry. But so I'm not. I would love to replace the mental health industry. Hands on heart, I'd love each person to go, I don't have a mental disorder. I'm not mentally ill. I have a hole in my soul. I want to treat the hole in my soul. I treat the hole in the soul. That I saw recently on some interview on YouTube or somewhere, some famous psychologist said he expects the mental disorder industry to be finished in 50 years. I'm kind of going, wow, someone else kind of is seeing the light that maybe that mental disorder isn't the way forward, that maybe there is a space where we can look at healing the soul, that if people can turn back to the idea of God and heal the soul and make peace with that and let go of the past, then they can be normal people. And again, the goal is to be a normal born. That's the goal. It's not to be rich and famous or a rock star. All we want to be is be able to sleep at night without nightmares, and to wake up and be able to go to my job and do a full day's work. And when I'm with my family and friends, be comfortable in their space, not have secrets, be able to talk and interact. And that's all we're looking to do. And if healing a hole in your soul can allow you. So imagine for 1 minute you're diagnosed with a veteran. And you come on this show and you hear this and it kind of makes sense to you. Because I worked with one client and he had been with 25 different therapists over 20 years. And in that, he's had about medication, but nothing's worked. And nothing does work because we're treating the symptoms, treating the effect. And so when I did this work with him, it blew him away the fact that it worked. But then he felt so threatened because he's going to have to get his identity that's built into all that he walked away from it. So there's a big challenge that if you do this work, you've got to give up being a victim. And that's the hardest challenge you're going to face, giving up your meaning of being a victim and wearing that badge. This is who I am. I'm a victim. I was this. The other. Giving that up and being a normal, boring human being is the biggest challenge you have. It isn't giving up the medication. It isn't giving up therapy. It's giving up that badge that you've been conditioned to wear. We celebrate it. Look at all social media. The celebration days. There's all the groups. All this kind of stuff. There's going to be a big fun and movement and marches and all kind of stuff. It's a big whole keep it alive kind of thing. So for you to give it up and walk away from it, that can be the biggest challenge you'll face. That's the biggest challenge I face, is clients wondering, my whole life is in this organization. All my friends are in this organization. All my peers and all my sense of identity and who I am, my job, my worth is being a part of this and being a voice for PTSD or depression, all that kind of stuff, and suddenly be able to be a normal, boring human being. I don't know if I'm willing to pay that price. I don't know. I prefer to suffer for the rest of my life than maybe step into being a normal, boring being with my parents and everybody. So that's the biggest challenge in this. I found it is challenging you to have to step out of the space you're in into a space of normalcy. And that's probably the biggest challenge. So again, do I replace? I don't. I think it's the bigger picture is, are people ready to do this work? That's the biggest challenge we have.
So if someone has worked really hard to tell their story or feel heard, how do you approach kind of this concept without silencing or invalidating them? Because I personally do think that it is important to share stories, especially in the case of like domestic abuse and emotional abuse and physical abuse and those kinds of things. I think it's important for folks to hear those kinds of stories and see that someone has survived it. But what you're saying is a little bit kind of on the side of, okay, let it go, let it be in the past, don't talk about it. So how do you approach that? Like, is there a space where everything needs to be kind of out in the open? Go ahead.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I said. Okay, so we have our history.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We're meant to have all our stories. We carry our stories to the day we die. And we're meant to have all our stories, good and bad, the horror stories, the wins, the successes. We're meant to talk about our stories, but we're not meant to own them as being who we are today.
I see. Okay.
So you can talk about what happened to you yourself. You can't go and say, yeah, I was as a 12-year-old. I was a mess as an 18-year-old or boy. You say, yes, in my past it was hard. You talk about what happened to your younger self. And it's perfectly reasonable to share your stories.
Yeah.
People who talk about, in my childhood there was sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. In my teenage years, there was mental, emotional, physical, spiritual abuse, and talk about it. And don't be afraid to talk about it. Something that happened to another person in your life, your younger self, exists today. So the story you can talk about that pertains to you is the MommaFoxFire, 40 years of age, 2 children, a boyfriend, living in America, an artist, a craft, whatever it is. That's who you can talk about as I. So talk about the history, the 25-year-old version of you, the 13-year-old version of you, the 10-year-old version of you. All you want but they. She experienced this event. She experienced that event. Everyone experienced that event. I live in today. Again, we have to carry our history. That's how we carry our story, hand our story from children to children. So she was 12, but then she realized it happened to a 12-year-old child. And then 4 years of age happened to Foxfire when she's 40, and when 16 happened to her. All these stories that you will pass on from generation. But we can't be in two places at once. Either we live in this moment in time, we live when we were 25 or 20 or 15 or 17, but we can't live in both places. So you're welcome to tell your stories, and you should tell your stories. And if someone asks me, I conversation with MommaFoxFire about my past, I will tell you in detail what happened. But I need you to know what happened to a 12-year-old child that didn't happen to me. And then if you want to ask me what's happening in my life, I will tell you what's happening to this man about being on MommaFoxFire's podcast, taking my wife and children out, taking my dog for a walk, my other work I have to do today, my hopes and dreams and aspirations. I talk about me today, but we have to separate I with the person in the past.
Yeah. I really appreciate all that clarification, because I really strongly believe that you're right. We have to tell the stories of the things we've lived through and how we got through them. And I think that really shows kind of the hope that there is in the world, and that, you're not alone in anything that you're going through. Folks have been here before, maybe not in your exact shoes, but in a similar situation, and that there's hope on the other side of things. But that kind of the ownership of the fallout of that is something that you can let go of a little bit. So I thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that for sure.
A meditation will help an awful lot. Is God's name is I am, and so we use His name I am. Whatever we attach to it, we manifest in our lives. And this is profound. I never understood this. God answers all our prayers all day long. Now the prayers aren't what we learned at our mother's knee or in school. Church. They're powerful prayers that somebody else would vote for them. Our prayers are a self-talk, the things we say to ourselves when we think no one. So if I'm walking around saying, I am depressed, I am alone, no one likes me, no one loves me, I can't get a job, no one wants me, everyone hates me. These are my prayers, and God answers them. God doesn't deal with feelings. He gave us a free will and a book of instructions on how to use it properly. And if we're stupid enough or reckless enough to not read the instruction manual, we're going to suffer the consequences. So if I go around saying, I am depressed, I am post-traumatic stress, I am bipolar, I am alone, no one understands me, cares, I don't fit in here. These are our prayers, and God answers them tenfold. He doesn't hear the feelings, He just hears what we say, and there are prayers. We have to learn to say, up until this morning, I believe that I was depressed and alone and no one loved me. But on MommaFoxFire's podcast today, listen to Richard, I realize I've been my own worst enemy, and I choose to declare it. I am happy, joyous, and free. I am abundant. I'm going to I'm going to be offered a new job. I love my life. I love the fact that opportunities are coming to me now. And by changing my day to 3 8-hour, fixing 8 hours, giving 8 hours to my boss, and then 8 hours is make as many activities as possible. My life is transforming. Thank you, Lord. And that's your first prayer. And then you go to your second prayer and you go, I used to feel this way. And then you do the same thing again, and then so on. And you do this 10, 20 times a day for 30 days. And by day, you'll have been offered a job. You'll have met up somebody. You'll have a date. Your life will transform. When you start praying the right way, everything, and it's not getting it from a church. You're not getting it from me. You start doing this for yourself, and everything in your life will change. So your meditation is I am. You never say I. Everything you say will be I am, and you attach it to I am what you want in your life. Forget scarcity and poverty. I am a multimillionaire. I am rich. I am healthy. I am alive. I am in a relationship. I'm getting married. Whatever it is you want in your life, you declare you have it by using God's name, I am. That's the best gift I can give you today.
If someone is feeling stuck and they're not religious and they don't feel they have a personal relationship with God, or maybe they just don't know where to start, what would you want them to hear from you today?
Just what I said. They start saying, I am happy, joyous, and free. And repeat that all day long, on the walk, on the toilet, walking the dog, driving the car, on the bicycle, and you just keep saying, I am happy, joyous, and free. I am healthy. I'm alive. I'm happy, joyous, and free. I'm healthy. I'm alive. I am loved. I'm loved. I'm loving. Think of all the virtuous stuff, like I am forgiveness. I am tolerance. I am patience. I am kind. I'm worthy. I am pathetic. I am confident. I am courageous. I am a warrior. All the good stuff. Just repeat I am and say them. Say it again all day long. I do it. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. All day long. So I'm not in front of a PC, walking the dog, and I just keep in my mind, I'm saying, I am happy, joyous, and free. I am loved. I'm loved. I'm loving. I'm lovable. Keep saying this. And what will happen is, I promise you, by day 10, you won't know yourself. You will have changed simply by saying this over and over again. You're sending a message into your subconscious. And the psychiatrists will tell you this. If you change your thinking, your whole life changes. Whatever we focus on, we create. So if you're saying, I am depressed over and over, guess what? You're going to be depressed. You're going to be more depressed than you could possibly imagine. So just for the hell of it, don't tell anyone you're doing it. Just say to yourself, get a sheet of paper and write out 10 positive things. I am happy, joyous, and free. I have enough money in the bank. Money's always coming towards me. I feel healthy. I don't have anxiety. I'm happy. Whatever it is, write down 10 things and repeat those 10 things. Put them on your phone or in a pocket. Learn them off by heart and keep repeating them all day long. Every moment, bus, on a train, out shopping, walking the dog, walking the cat, cuddling the cat, in bed before you sleep. Keep repeating this over and over again. 100 times a day, you just say these 10 things. By day 10, I promise you, you can come on and speak to MommaFoxFire here. You will be a changed person. All these things you're saying will start happening in your life. You'll find you're happier, you're more. You feel free of the past. You'll feel like you've taken your power back from people. You'll feel like you'll suddenly be offered a job, part-time work, or training for a job, or a job will come up that you wanted, and you'll apply for it. Things will start happening that weren't happening before.
I like that. And it has not, like you're saying, it kind of ties to the I am and that being the name of God. But if you're not religious, if you don't feel like that's something that you're interested in, that can still work for you. Like that's a universal thing that can work for you.
I'm not religious. And if anyone suggests I'm religious, I would tell them straight away, I am not religious. I don't want anything to do with any religion. Please don't think any of my words is supporting religion or denomination or anything. I am not religious. I just have a relationship with God where I tell him all day, I am happy, joyous, and free. I am wealthy. I'm the greatest podcast guest speaker ever to appear on the horizon. And I'm the greatest social media presence for trauma. A best-selling author. I just keep repeating these things over again. And if I do attach God's name to it, eventually God, Rich has changed. He's a new person. Okay, if he says he's this, then he's this. And he gives it to me. And it happens again and again.
That's great. What is your favorite life hack?
Well, it has to be breaking my day into 8 hours. That has to be. And then probably the greatest hack.
You mentioned this at the beginning. Who was it that led you to that 3 hour break it into 3 8-hour? Who was it that led you to that?
A chap I met on my travels. He's no longer with us.
Okay, gotcha.
He lost his life. So, but he told me this. Stuart, his name was Stuart. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But he shared this with me, which just blew me away. Because I was kind of living one day at a time, or all of yesterday plus a day and all of tomorrow, and packing all of my life into one day. And so now when I break it down to 3 8 hours and give 8 hours to God, I only have to deal with 16 hours. 16 hours is simple. A great thing is that you do this and you do your 16 hours. So 6 a.m. in the morning till 6 night is my routine. Okay.
Mhm.
So I get to work at 9 o'clock. I stop work at 9 o'clock. I've just done 3 hours of my life. I only got 30. The sensation of feeling I only have 13 hours to deal with my whole life is so wonderful. Then I get to my morning break at 11. I'm kind of going, I've only 11 hours left. There's a wonderful sense of achievement. I'm thinking, I've only 11 hours left. And then suddenly you get to 5 in the afternoon, you're kind of going, I've only 6 hours left. This is easy. I can do this. I can do it. Before I couldn't manage my whole life in the past and the future. 6 hours, bring it on. I can do 16 hours so that's my greatest hack, is keeping my day down to a 16-hour day and then knocking it an hour off every time.
Yeah. It is time for the magic moment. So folks who are here in chat, you know what that means. We're getting close to wrapping up. So if you have any questions for Richard, feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll make sure to get to them. But Richard, if you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
Okay, here's it. Our feelings and our emotions are not mental disorders. They're God-given instincts that in the face of danger, real or imaginary, you're meant to take action. So anytime you feel anxious or stressed or depressed or angry or sad or lonely or any feeling at all, take some form of action. Fight, flight, or freeze. So flight, run away. Leave the house, leave the school, leave the classroom, run away. Get out of there. Just run away. Trust your instincts. They're your God-given instincts. Your feelings and friend. You trust your anxiety. You run away. If you can't run away, you hide in the wardrobe, hide under the bed, hide in the bed, hide in the garden, hide in the kitchen, hide in the room. Trust your instincts and run away or hide. And if you can fight, ask for help. Ask someone for help. Seek a solution. Ask someone to hold your hand or stay with you till the danger passes. Report the person, place, or thing. Don't keep it a secret. The way abuse stays alive is if we keep it a secret. Mm-hmm. So if someone's abused you, you tell somebody, tell the police, tell the teacher, priest, your parents, whoever it is, tell somebody this is happening in your life. Stand up for yourself, say no, just say no. That kind of phrase is wonderful. Take action. And the third one is to freeze. And the greatest coping skill we have is it takes no energy. So to disassociate is not a mental disorder. Disassociation is the very best coping skill. So if you're a child and you're in a home where you're fighting and you can't run away and try and fight, they don't listen to you. Just shut down mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Curl up into a ball and disassociate. And when all the hubbub breaks down and your dad leaves the house and it's all peaceful again, come back into the space and be alive. Disassociation is not a mental disorder. It's the best coping skill. It's your response. We're given 3 responses: fight, flight, and freeze. They're all perfect. They're not broken. You allow yourself to freeze, disassociate, hide in the bed, sleep, stay in bed, don't get out of bed. You can stay in bed for a minute. That's okay. That's freezing. You can shut down emotion. You can disassociate. They are healthy coping skills. They're not mental disorders. As soon as we can teach children, especially, that their feelings and emotions and that fight, flight, and freeze are the best response, they're laughing. And the one response that we don't talk about is acceptance. If you can go from living life in life's terms to living life in God's terms, to practice that I am in any moment, to give him your troubles at night time, to know you don't have to join any religion, but allow God into your life, everything will change, because now you're living life on God's terms. When you live life in God's terms, he will send 10,000 angels down to you. That's it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for that. I don't see any additional questions, but folks, if you have anything you want to say, feel free to pop it in. Richard, I'm going to post your links one more time, all these to Facebook and LinkedIn, to the books that you've written. If there's anything that you want to talk about, I will just give you the mic for a little bit and let you chat while I go ahead and post these links for everybody one more time so they can find you.
Great. Guys, thank you very much for having me. Really great being here. My first live stream show. I've never done before. It's really nice to be here with an audience. And thank you for those who participated and your questions and your comments. They really were wonderful. We have to keep this very simple. I love that comment about keep it stupid, okay? Keep this very simple. You're allowed to have a relationship with God without joining any, okay? And don't tell anybody about it. This is you. If you have a relationship with a boy or a girl, and tell them. Well, in the same way, have a relationship with God. Don't tell anyone you're having this relationship. Keep it personal between you and them. Climb into your wardrobe, close the door in the wardrobe, if you can fit into it. I'm too big to fit. Go somewhere into nature. Go somewhere where you won't be disturbed. And the burning the letter is wonderful. They talk about a burnt offering. You take a page, write out everything on the page, and you flush down the toilet. And that takes it out of your psyche, just for the amount of time you've declared you want it. So 8 hours. And you can burn pages all day long. So it's a really great tool you can use without anyone's permission. You don't have to get permission. Just do this and it works. Use the I am happy, joyous, and free. Just repeat that. Again, not my permission or MommaFoxFire's permission or your parents' permission. You're just doing something. This is about self-care, taking care of you. You are the most important person in your life. God has a plan, a purpose for you, and you can't achieve that if you're not here. So you want to allow yourself to have God in your life, have your friends in your life. Maybe someday you can have your parents in your life. There's some way you can have. One last thing I want to say is we all have our tribes. It's a very good chance the family you grew up in are. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. Just God put you in that tribe so that you would learn your experiences to help others. But one day you'll leave that tribe and you'll go and find your tribe. So right now we have all this wokeism and where kids now are different genders or different whatever, and they don't fit with their families. But it's just a case that you're no longer fit. That they're perfectly okay for their beliefs and who they are. But you're okay for your beliefs and who you are. And when you find your family, your tribe of people who think like you feel like you've come home. And when your family are with their family, that's okay. We live and let live. We don't try and convert people who aren't us into our thinking, and we don't allow other people who aren't us into their thinking. We find a way of living in our tribe, and they live, and that's okay. So I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in God and family, and I love that. I've no desire to anywhere else that's alien or it is in conflict with that, and that's okay. That's who I am. I allow myself to be who I am, and to embrace my life and to live my life. And once I'm not harming anybody else, okay. And likewise, if any of you guys who are not fitting into society, find your tribe. And when you find your tribe, and you can have God in your tribe, even though it seems like you may not be able to have religion in your tribe, you may not be able to have a denomination, a man-made religion or a church in your tribe, but you can have God in your tribe. God fits in everywhere, with everybody, okay? Again, go back to the Bible. Jesus didn't mix with those who were converted. He went who didn't fit in. If there was transgenderism back then, he would have spent his time with transgender people. He fit in with everyone who didn't fit in. The lepers, and he spent his time in the company of lepers and thieves and anyone who's thinking of robbers. He would spend his time with those who did this. So no, you're allowed to have God in your without conforming to community or to religious standards or denomination standards. This is your gift to you. It's to allow God to be in your life. He wants to be. Let him be a part of your life. Your life will transform.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. Bite Mark says, I just want to say this has been a fascinating conversation, and I absolutely agree. I think that this has been a really great time. So thank you for spending your time with us this evening and for just coming on here and sharing your views and talking through all of this with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. God bless you all. I hope you're all safe and well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all, give me just a minute to disconnect with Richard, and I will be right back. Stick around.